Like many utilities all over the country, we are seeing more and more plant closures and a shift in resource allocation for power generation. Alabama Power has played a key role in building a stronger economy for the state by providing reliable, low-cost energy that has contributed toward a growing manufacturing base. Local communities are dependent on these jobs for their future and their future vitality. This is true for many other communities in the southern states. And so now, it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who is the Chairman, President, and Chief Executive Officer of Alabama Power, Mr. Mark Crosswhite. Let me finish.
Oh, that's enough.
That's all right.
That's enough.
Mr. Crosswhite started at Southern Company in 2004 as Senior Vice President and General Counsel of Southern Company Generation. In 2006, he joined Alabama Power as Senior Vice President and Counsel, where he oversaw the company's legal matters. In 2008, he was named Executive Vice President for External Affairs. Mr. Crosswhite became President and Chief Executive Officer of Gulf Power, a Southern Company subsidiary based in Pensacola, Florida. Before becoming President and CEO of Alabama Power, he was Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer at Southern Company, where he was responsible for the company's operations organization. Mr. Crosswhite also was responsible for Southern Power, which provides energy to municipalities, electric cooperatives, and investor-owned utilities in 8 states. In addition, he was responsible for Southern Wholesale Energy, which markets the surplus generating capacity of Southern Company's operating fleet companies to the wholesale market. Mr. Crosswhite participates on numerous public and private sector boards. He's a member of many committees specializing in the legal and regulatory aspects of the electric utility industry. In addition, he serves as Vice Chair of the American Bar Association's Electricity Committee in terms of the section on public utility, communications, and transportation law. He's a native of Decatur, Alabama, where his family roots extend back into the 19th century. He received his bachelor's degree from the University of Alabama in Huntsville and a JD from the University of Alabama School of Law. Before I turn the podium over to Mr. Crosswhite, I want to extend again to you the real absolute appreciation of the Southern States Energy Board, Governor Bentley, and all of us for your leadership and support in sponsoring our annual meeting. So, ladies and gentlemen, now, Mark Crosswhite.
Thanks, Ken. If y'all listen during the resume reading, you can tell I can't keep a job very long. Hopefully that has that's ceased now. Ken, thank you for that kind announcement. Reading my resume almost in toto, I think. And I appreciate the invitation to be here with you today at the Southern States Energy Board. I'd like to take a moment, though, just to talk about Alabama Power, share our perspective on economic development, and maybe a little bit about the future of energy. Governor Bentley said this morning that some of the speakers today might put you to sleep. Now's the time. Get your pillow out, take a nap. You won't miss anything, because I think after listening to the prior speakers today, what you'll hear from me is very similar. You'll see many of the same themes repeated. Now a little bit about Alabama Power. Alabama Power has been serving the people of Alabama since 1906. And we've been serving the Mobile community here for over 100 years. We started out as a hydroelectric company. If you recall Governor Bentley talking about the Great Seal of Alabama and all the rivers. Well, that's where we started. We built our company using hydroelectric power from Alabama's great river systems. As we grew, we added coal, natural gas, and nuclear generation to help us provide affordable, reliable power to our customers. Now, today, Alabama Power provides electric service to 1.4 million customers across the lower two-thirds of the state. Some of our largest customers are right here in the Mobile area. Companies like Olin, Evonik, Airbus, Austal, ArcelorMittal, and SSEB. We're very fortunate to have these great companies as customers, but they're not here by accident. They're here because the state has worked hard to create the conditions that will attract global companies and help keep them here. I know that jobs and economic growth are a real priority for Governor Bentley. You heard it from himself earlier today. We want more businesses like those I just mentioned to come to Alabama. We want them to stay for the long term, to help us grow and thrive, to add jobs and increase the Alabama economy. Wherever you're from, I know you want the same for your communities. But we just can't hope it happens. It takes foresight and it takes hard work. We must create the conditions that will draw businesses here and keep them here. Alabama Power has a long history of being involved in economic development in our state. We created a new industries department more than 90 years ago, one of the first among electric utilities to do that. When we were building our first hydroelectric projects across the state, the company's leadership knew that we had to bring in industry. We had to recruit customers to come to use the power that we were about to be producing. They understood that Alabama Power won't thrive unless the state of Alabama thrives. And it's no different today, and we've never stopped being involved in economic development. One way we try to attract industry to our state is to keep energy prices affordable. At Alabama Power, our total retail price has been below the national average for decades, and we work hard to keep it that way. We've kept prices affordable by using a diverse fuel mix that enables us to react quickly to market conditions for the benefit of our customers. The fuel mix includes coal, natural gas, nuclear, and hydro and other forms of renewables. Energy efficiency is also part of the mix. We work closely with our customers, residential, commercial, and industrial, to help them get the best bang for their buck. It's an all-of-the-above strategy that takes advantage of the full portfolio of energy resources and technologies. And it allows us to provide reliable, affordable power to our customers. Unfortunately, that strategy is being jeopardized by our current approach toward energy policy. Instead of a comprehensive energy policy established by our elected leaders, decisions about our energy future are being driven, even dictated, by federal environmental regulations. You may have seen recently in the news that because of federal mandates, we're being forced to change the way we operate. Just a few weeks ago, we announced plans to retire some of our coal units and to switch others to natural gas. Several of the affected units are right here in Mobile County. In Greene County, it's a rural area in West Alabama, about 60 jobs will be eliminated because of the conversion of a plant from coal to natural gas in that county. Now, 60 jobs may not sound like a lot to people in Washington, D.C., but Greene County is one of the poorest counties in our state, and they face real economic challenges. So that means losing those jobs is terribly important to us, and it's terribly important to that community. These federal regulations, and especially the mandates from EPA, are putting new limitations on how we operate our generating fleet and the types of fuels that we can use. When you impose these limits, it makes it more difficult for us to serve our customers in the most cost-effective manner possible. Fact is, Alabama Power and the entire electric industry is producing power that's cleaner than ever. Since the mid-90s, Alabama Power has cut key emissions by more than 75% while increasing our electric output by 30%. Our company has invested over $3 billion over the past decade to comply with federal environmental regulations. Right now, we're spending about another $1 billion to comply with the latest mandates. And we know more regulations are on the way. These include regulations on coal ash, new regulations related to water intakes and discharges from power plants, potentially much tougher sulfur dioxide and ozone regulations. We've heard a lot about it already, but EPA has proposed the first ever rules to limit carbon emissions. We've been looking at that proposal very closely since it came out in June, and Frankly, the more we look, the more concerned we are. The proposal goes far beyond what the law allows, stepping into areas that are regulated by the states. We also see numerous technical and operational issues with the proposal. For example, the proposal would limit our ability to produce power from the most economical and reliable sources for our customers. They'd impose unrealistic mandates for energy efficiency and renewable power. They'd require generating plants to meet unattainable operational standards. If these rules go forward, they'll restrict our ability to serve our customers in the most cost-effective manner possible. You know, look, we all want clean air, we all want clean water, and we all want a healthy environment. We live here too. But there must be some meaningful consideration of the impact of these rules in our economy. Make no mistake, these regulations are going to drive up the electricity prices in our region. And there are going to be widespread ramifications to our economy and our communities. The regulations will have a negative impact on business and industry and their ability to create and retain jobs. The regulations will also have a direct impact on our residential customers. Alabama, like many southern states, is not a wealthy state. Here, 1 in 5 of our customers lives below the poverty line. Many of our customers are on fixed incomes. The cost of these regulations are going to hit these customers especially hard. Rather than regulations that limit resources, we believe we need an energy policy that promotes more energy and encourages innovation to address our energy needs. Now, this isn't just rhetoric. Alabama Power and our parent Southern Company are doing our part. We're among the few remaining utilities in the nation to maintain a robust research and development operation. And it's right here in Alabama where some of the most important research is taking place. For example, in Shelby County, adjacent to Plant Gaston, you'll find the National Carbon Capture Center. Researchers are coming there from all over the world to test technologies that will allow the continued use of coal going forward, but with a much reduced carbon footprint. We manage that facility for the Department of Energy. Just a few miles up the road from where we are right now at Alabama Power's Plant Berry, we're part of the Carbon Capture and Storage Project. The captured carbon is being supplied to C-Carb. We've heard about that earlier today. It's piped about 12 miles where it's being permanently stored in a deep geological formation. There's a pamphlet in the materials that you got that gives more information on that project. It's a great project, and it has got amazing prospects for the future. The DOE was here a moment ago. I don't see them now. I guess they stepped out. But I'd like to thank them for their great partnership in some of those projects that we have. We've also been involved in research and development of renewables. As I mentioned, we were formed as a hydroelectric company, and hydro continues to be part of our energy mix today. Our first forays into solar energy took place more than 30 years ago, and we continue to look at solar. We've recently partnered with the Southern Research Institute and EPRI, the Electric Power Research Institute, on a new Southeastern Solar Research Center. The center will provide data on the performance of solar panels in our southeastern climate. We've been researching and using biomass, part of our fuel mix, for more than a decade, and we're purchasing energy generated by wind farms in the Midwest. So we support renewables where they make sense for our customers. But like other fuel sources, they have limitations. A big limitation is they don't work all the time. Sometimes the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow. Another limitation is that the places where the conditions are best for solar and wind are often far from the population centers where the energy is needed. At this time, renewable sources simply cannot take the place of more traditional energy sources like coal and natural gas. They're a supplement. They're not a replacement. But they add to our energy mix in America. They don't limit it. That means energy independence, and it means jobs, and that's the reason we support research and development into renewables. At Alabama Power, we have an obligation to provide our customers with reliable electricity as affordably as possible. Our concern, our fear, is the regulations coming our way will make this job much more difficult. Our fear is that these sweeping regulations will hamper our state's ability to compete in a tough environment. The bottom line, we need thoughtful energy policy formulated by elected leaders who understand the very real regional differences and who are truly concerned about driving economic growth. We need an energy policy that drives us toward a more secure energy future in a volatile world. We need more energy supply in America, not less. We need to increase our energy options, not limit them. We need to incent research and technology, not add another tax. As a reforming lawyer myself, and someone who has spent his entire career working in the regulatory arena, I think we really do have a fourth branch of government that's not contemplated in the framers, the founder and fathers' viewpoints, and it makes things interesting. I think it would be a good idea to at least explore to see, could we get something that would require congressional ratification of EPA regulations? I suspect they would fight very hard against that. I've read a lot about the polar vortex. I'm learning all kinds of phrases that I didn't know before, but this cold snap is what I would have called it. But the polar vortex we had this winter, if a lot of the plants that kept the lights on, that prevented the nation from having serious blackouts, were plants that are slated to be gone by 2016 and would certainly be slated to be gone under the greenhouse gas rule. So if you just look and see how close, in some parts of the country it was razor thin that we did not have real serious issues in the cold weather in January and February. I'm not surprised that some regions of the country are predicting massive reliability problems if the greenhouse gas rules are piled on everything now. The question is, with the increasing number of mandates and money getting tighter and tighter, how are we able to increase or improve our infrastructure as we're dealing with all this at the same time? Is this a struggle? You know, when we look at our prices, we're going to do everything we can to keep our prices as low as possible. I know every utility is going to do that. Every one of these mandates that we have to respond to is added cost. I don't think there's ever been a mandate that's resulted in lower costs for us. So more costs pile on, more costs pile on. At some point, the customers can't bear that. So something we have to juggle. I mean, you have to look and see, what can your customers tolerate? Are we going to drive business away? And the thing you have to balance is this mandate versus something that you would like to do, maybe to improve reliability. That's a tough question. I don't have a real good answer for it. We're working on it every day, though, to fight as many of the mandates as we can and make smart investments in our system that we know will benefit our customers. With known environmental rules out there and a timetable to comply with those, now we have the overhang of the greenhouse gas proposal, more expenditures perhaps coming from that. How do you decide whether to make the investment in the existing power plants or not? Frankly, it's something we struggle with every day. What we try to do is, we call it a no regrets policy. I mean, when we look at our generating fleet and what investments need to be made, we factor in to some degree what's our belief of other regulations coming down the road. Is it affecting reliability? Well, we haven't seen that yet, but I think it does make every utility hesitant to spend more money on a coal plant that may be uneconomical in a year from now or 2 years from now. How do you make that decision? Our focus has been we will put the most investment in what we would call our flagship generating units. So we look at those that we think have the most environmental controls, are the ones that we believe under most scenarios would be there. And that's where we would put most of our money. I mean, it's really a scenario planning approach to the investment that you have to play out. What happens if this happens or that happens or this happens? Look at it and try to make the determination of how are you going to feel about your investment if that worst case pans out.
Thanks for coming. It's always good to get the views from somebody at the top. I'm Jimmy Glotfelty with Clean Line Energy, and we're a DC transmission line developer. I want to applaud you for the megawatts that you've put in your rate base here in Alabama from wind. You've done a great job buying that and solar at your sister companies. Could you tell us just a little bit about why you put wind 404 megawatts in your rate base here in Alabama and what you think it's doing for your customers? And obviously, it's not a huge part of your resource mix, but it's part thereof.
Sure. It is, and we are buying energy generated by wind farms. I mentioned that in my talk. I'm going to get one of my experts on that one, Jimmy, since I've got my Public Service Commission experts here. Nick, Zeke, y'all want to hit it? Give them some speaking opportunities as well.
It's a little dangerous to give me a microphone this early in the day.
Well, don't start singing.
No,
please.
don't carry it. Yeah, to be candid with you, it was the lowest cost option for us. We're always looking at any offers that come in that will lower that are below our avoided costs. And with respect to the wind and frankly solar options that come to us, it's a fuel play. So for us, for every megawatt of wind, and there's a minimum requirement, as you probably know, that they have to deliver to us at the interface. It's just a little bit less coal or gas that we have to burn to serve our customers. And they have some minimum guarantees, and those are performing. The challenge is it's got to wheel through some organized markets, and they decide that they want to change the rules of the game after we put our contract in place. So you have to plan for that as well. But you really can't, since there's a little bit more capacity value in the wind, but in these solar deals, very little capacity value. We look at these as just are they a fuel play for us? Will they lower our fuel expense going forward? It's really not a capacity play for us.
Let me just add to that. We don't have a renewable portfolio standard in Alabama. There's not a requirement that we buy a particular amount of wind or solar or anything like that. So when we're looking at it for us, we're driven by economics. And if we see something that appears to be a good deal, then we'll pursue it. Anything else? Ken, thank you so much.
Let's thank you.